Hi, I'm Mark Pulaski. I'm the CEO of Difference, and together with my co-founder, Reed Barringer, we're removing the barriers to philanthropy for millennials.
So, over the past few months, we've learned that college students and young professionals like ourselves feel bad about the lack of impact they're having. After digging into this a bit deeper and really trying to understand how our peers feel about philanthropy, it became clear that this wasn't necessarily a people problem. It's not that we lack altruism or empathy or that we're simply too busy or uninterested, but rather that the problem was systemic in nature. In one of our discussions with an executive at the World Wildlife Foundation, he emphasized that the biggest barrier they face in reaching millennials is rooted in that the charity space is about 20 years behind technologically. So we figured that if we could use technology to make it just a little bit easier for us and our peers to engage in philanthropy, to build a more efficient and effective marketplace between us and causes around the world, that we might actually be able to create a digital experience of philanthropy compelling enough to actually mobilize us. So what does the current system look like, and what about it is inefficient? So say I'm browsing the web or I'm on my phone, and I come across something that piques my interest, like food security in Africa. I'd like to learn more and maybe even support this cause, so I begin by looking for related charities. But I also want to make sure that I'm supporting a well-run and trustworthy organization. So I visit some third-party websites, and I begin to learn about things like their administrative expenses, fundraising efficiency metrics, and working capital ratios. After a few minutes, I go back to the charity's website, I begin to continue to read about the impact that they're having in their different campaigns, and eventually I feel compelled to contribute. But when I get to the payment page, I notice that the lowest option available is $25, and that there's even an option to give $10,000, which makes me begin to question if my contribution is even worthwhile to begin with. So what is the likelihood of me going through that process each and every time I want to engage in philanthropy? And does that process provide young professionals and college students with an incentivizing, meaningful, or engaging experience?
So after extensive conversations with both end users and charities themselves, we realized that solutions must have a few key components in order to be successful. The first of which is that it must meet people where they currently interact with content, whether that be on their mobile devices or on their laptop computers, and have friction-free payments as opposed to complicated charitable contribution forms as it currently exists today. In addition to that, donors want to be engaged with trustworthy, verified charities that have a strong sense of mission, both before they contribute and after the fact, so they can see where their money is going. Finally, donors want to feel empowered that regardless of their contribution size, they're having a tangible impact, and that they're investing in the future as opposed to simply making a one-off contribution that won't actually change anything down the road. To do this, we iterated in a few different directions, from a web-based platform to a fully working prototype that you see behind me. Though after testing out this model with end users and charities again, we realized that there's a far greater issue at hand. That is that there's too strong of a disconnect between charities and technology as a whole. So before a solution can come in and actually solve this problem and fill these aforementioned voids, we must first understand the gap that exists between charities and technology as a whole. To do so, we're partnering with charities, nonprofits, and organizations of that sort in order to fully understand their needs, both those met and unmet, and the successes and failures of the current solutions in the space. We're acting as technology evangelists on their behalf in order to identify why this gap exists, and then ultimately hoping to devise the proper software that will bridge the gap between millennials and philanthropy. Joining Reed and I on this adventure are Brendan, Jack, and Caleb. Brendan works on the business development team with Reed and I, where Jack works on technology and development, and Caleb is in charge of design. What we ask all of you today is that if you have any experience in the nonprofit or charity space, or have any feedback or any guidance you think you could offer us, we would very much appreciate it. We love talking about what we've done this year and all the hard work we've put in, and we'd like to have conversations with as many of you as possible. Behind me is my email address. Please don't hesitate to reach out with any kind of feedback you could possibly provide. So thank you all so much for coming today. Thank you, elab, for the support you've given us, notably our mentor, Steve Gall, who's helped us hand in hand throughout this process learn more about this mission and the ultimate solution that we're going to use to solve it. So thank you again for coming. I love seeing the Cornell community come together as it has today. Have a great evening, and I hope to look forward to talking to you later on today. Thank you.
This is a production of DMIG, the Dyson Media Innovation Group.